We now take you to the broadcast of It's Time with Reverend Nathaniel W. Martin. Here's Reverend Martin.
All right. Thank you, Dr. Blackwell. Let me say Hotep Habaragani to my Africana Studies colleagues and friends and seekers after the truth all. And let me go on to say good morning, good afternoon, good evening, but certainly never good night and never ever goodbye, because I always find goodbyes traumatizing, especially since my wife passed away. Her name was Carrie in 2012. So you'll have to give an old man some space, and including my faith. I still am a great believer in the truth and the efficacy of the cross and of the resurrection story. All right, my name is the Reverend Nathaniel Wayne Martin. I'm the pastor of the New Life Institutional Baptist Church here in the city of Los Angeles, and what you're looking at or listening to is a social justice offering, which we call It's Time. And it's not so much the preachy, but it just looks at the events that are coming upon us and attempts to give us a way out, or at least give us a heads up going forward. We're located, we're being hosted by our sister church, the Shiloh Missionary Christian Church. And in case I didn't give out the address, let me give it now. We're at 8916 South Main Street, and we are the New Life Institutional Baptist Church. And whenever you're in the area, we invite you to come and share with us or look in on us. And it'd be good to see your face in the place. Remember our scripture reading from Luke chapter 12, that last clause where Jesus warns his disciples, beware the leaven of the Pharisees, which is hypocrisy. And please believe me, the hypocrisy is ripe and rife in our government, and yes, in our world. I've never seen such hypocrisy masquerading with suits and ties, suited and booted. But the things that they are doing are so hurtful and harmful to the poor and to the general citizenry. It seems to be a government by the rich for the rich and being paid for by the poor. Not what Jesus would want us to be doing, but that is the state of our world. I'm going to read Ephesians, because that is very descriptive of the sociological situation. Ephesians 6 chapter, picking up our reading at verse number 11, says, put on the whole armor of God, that you may be able to stand against the wiles of the devil. For we wrestle not against flesh and blood, but against principalities, against powers, against the rulers of the darkness of this world, against spiritual wickedness in high places. And please take note of the against: principalities, powers, spiritual wickedness in high places, against the rulers of the darkness of this world. And that is a descriptor of our current times, our current dilemma. The rulers of the darkness of this world, those who stand behind the scenes and pull the strings for the puppets, the political puppets that are on the stage. And if we had any doubt about the principalities and the powers, all you have to do is look at the list of billionaires that are in friendship with the current administration, and indeed look at AIPAC and those other lobbyists that control most of our politicians across this nation. All right. I need to give you some names. David Stax, South Africa. Peter Thiel, South Africa. Elon Musk, South Africa. And those fellows have the ear of the current occupant of the White House, current president. They have his ear. This week he was moved to bring 49 or 50 of his Mr. Elon Musk citizens from South Africa, chartered plane, brought them here, and you can't tell me Elon Musk is not influencing Donald Trump's behavior, because it's too obvious. But I digress. All right, let me get to my opening thoughts here. Let's define terrorism. Terrorism is defined as the use of violence against civilians for political purposes. And you know who wrote that? Who defined that? It was Benjamin Netanyahu, the current Prime Minister of Israel. All right. Netanyahu vows that there will be no situation that will stop the war. We will destroy Hamas. Notice also that Donald Trump is bypassing Netanyahu and dealing directly with the president of Iran and with the president of Syria, and take serious consideration of the fact that Trump has lifted the sanctions on Syria. And you know, there's no goodwill there. There's no it's not for any humanitarian purposes. The devil is always in the details. Trump is doing something out of sight that we don't hear, that he didn't announce when he said he was going to lift those sanctions. But it will come out, so stay tuned. All right. All right. Unlike President Biden, who did nothing without consulting with Benjamin Netanyahu first, it's a welcome change that Trump is not catering to Netanyahu, because it seemed as though Netanyahu was actually the president of the United States under Biden. And AIPAC, which is a Jewish lobbying group, Israeli lobbying group, seems to have done its work well to compromise most of the politicians in the USA to do the will of Israel, even if it goes against the best interests of the people of America. Keep in mind that AIPAC is a Israeli founded and funded lobbying group up there in Washington. You don't get to Washington, I don't get to Washington, we don't get up on K Street, and we're not running for no office. But if we were, you would have to download the AIPAC tracker onto your cell phone or onto your computer, so you could see how much money your congressperson is being given by the AIPAC. AIPAC helps a lot of congresspeople, especially first-term congresspeople, retire their campaign debt. And in response, what do you have to do? You have to vote whatever is beneficial for Israel. That means if it goes against your constituents back home, you still have to toe the line. Let me see. If you look down if you own the website of AIPAC Tracker, you will see the name, state, and amount given thus far to each member of Congress. The list is quite informative, and it will help you to see how Israel controls the leaders we vote for. And it will help you see why everything Israel wants militarily, they get. No questions asked. Because the majority of the congressional personnel on Capitol Hill are on the payroll of AIPAC. If they dare to vote their conscience and it happens to be against the interests of Israel, they run the risk of being voted out of office when the next election comes around. think of someone running against you in the primary who is funded by AIPAC. I think that happened to several politicians, the latest being Miss Cory Booker, who was voted out of office. Quite sobering to think about it if you are a politician. I can remember Cynthia McKinney, who was from Georgia, but she ran afoul of the Jewish lobby, AIPAC, and they ran someone against her, and she's no longer in Congress. Now, let's talk about Ukraine. Ukraine could have had a ceasefire deal back in February of 2022. But the Biden administration discouraged Zelensky from taking the deal and began to supply Ukraine with military aid. Now the war is continuing, but Biden is no longer president. But Putin is still president of Russia and still fighting NATO and Ukraine. Now Trump wants to give Crimea to the Russians and is anxious to end the war at all costs. Of course, he's finding out that it's not that simple to end the war just because you have to know the art of the deal, as Trump says he is able to do. This is another in a series of foreign policy blunders by the U.S. presidents going all the way back to the fall of the Soviet Union. As a nation, our Congress does not get involved in foreign policy. We leave that to the president. We allow our presidents to lead the country when it comes to handling and dealing with foreign countries. They have, however, historically made a mess of it. Bill Clinton was president, who met with Boris Yeltsin and blundered into the Chechen War with Serbia, which lasted 10 years. Some of you remember Boris Yeltsin was president of Russia after the fall of the Soviet Union, and it was rumored that he drank a lot. You know, all Russians drink a lot. And Boris Yeltsin turned it over to a young man named Vladimir Putin, and he resigned. And Yeltsin thereafter resigned, and Putin, who had run the Russian intelligence service, has been premier or president of Russia ever since. All right. Also, remember, it was Bill Clinton who said there was no genocide occurring in Rwanda. Surprise! Later he had to retract and say, well, it was a genocide, but never again. Good luck with that one. It was Trump in his first term who funded and armed NATO and armed the Ukrainians. The same Ukrainians who he is now throwing under the bus to Russia as he talks against NATO membership. In his first term, he was pro-NATO. Now in his second term, he is anti-NATO. That is why you cannot put your confidence in these politicians, especially the presidents, because they don't know what they're doing. They're flying blind. They're hoping that they hit the right strategy, and very seldom has things worked out in the long run for these presidential endeavors that they speak so confidently about when they are initiating them. And we could recall several of these snafus, faux pas, just downright errors and mistakes in judgment that our presidents have gotten the nation into. And it has cost us billions in treasure. going all the way back to the fact that over there in, they call it the Middle East, over there in Iraq and Iran, Osama bin Laden was the darling of the Reagan administration. He called them the equivalent of our founding fathers. And what was that all about? And then after 9/11, Osama bin Laden's family was, while no other airplanes were allowed to be in the airspace, all air traffic was grounded, but the U.S. government allowed the Osama bin Laden family to fly on back to their homeland. What was that all about? What intrigue and subversion was that? You see? And 15 of the 19 hijackers were from Saudi Arabia. The same Saudi Arabia where Trump is trying to accept a plane, even when his own people are telling him don't do it. You know, but right now, he's allowing people to blow smoke up his you-know-what, and he's, in turn, is putting smoke in our eyes, saying, I'd be a fool to turn down the plane. And the plane is a boondoggle because it would be like you going out there buying a car, and then you got to do all of this repairs on this car. And that's what they're going to have to do to this airplane that the Saudis are claim that it's a 13-year-old plane in the first place. And then now the Saudis want to gift it. That means they're gifting their problem. It's like if you got a car that you start to have trouble with, so now you want to sell it to me. And I'm going to inherit all the problems. It's a bad deal for the man who claims he knows the art of the deal. But I digress. All right, let's come back home. Home ownership. Says that home ownership is the most significant contributor to wealth building. The reason why the whites had the suburbs following World War II is because the government was willing to subsidize the white people to move to the suburbs. Can't think of the name of those some of those suburbs that were built, but most of them were white only. In fact, all of them were white only. The government would not subsidize black housing until after the passage of the Civil Rights Bill in 1964. Then it became the Fair Housing Administration, where before it had been just the Federal Housing Administration and catered to white only. And catered to white only, and that's why you had the white folks living in the suburbs, and that's why the white people have so much wealth as compared to the black people. Is because, like, if you had a house and you had a problem, you could borrow money on the house. And if you lived in the house and your kids were grown, now you could give them that house and you could move to another house. And so that's how the white folks got the great amount of wealth that they did, because the government helped them. Same government that Ronald Reagan and his ilk said, well, the government needs to get out of the way. It was beneficial to the white folk, but when it started becoming beneficial to the black people, all of a sudden government became the problem, as it is right now. You see what I mean? And the cry is still, get big government off of our backs. But I'm losing my train of thought. Home ownership is the most significant contributor to wealth. While 3 out of 4 white people live in a home they own, black home ownership has never reached 50%. Now, in April, under the Trump-Musk presidency, because Musk is whispering in Trump's ear, 106,000 black women have lost their jobs. That's in the month of April. We're now in the month of May. Don't tell me there's not method to Trump's madness. He's not. He knows someone is telling him where to hurt black people. Remember, black people found work with the federal government and were able to pull themselves up to middle class status, whether they were mail carriers, hospital workers, clerks, cafeteria workers, etc. They were able to get a stable job with a stable income with benefits and send their children to school and live a reasonably good life. Now, under Trump's presidency, all of that is in jeopardy. He knows where to hurt black people. Remember, our hold on the good life was very tenuous. We were only given civil rights a few years ago, barely 60 years, counting from 1964. Remember, most of us put on a good show, but our finances are not that deep. So economically speaking, when America, white folks catch a cold, the black Americans get pneumonia. The Trump budget hurts black people at critical points. For instance, programs that give assistance, rental assistance, were cut by $26 billion. Programs that give utility assistance were cut by $102 million. Programs, the Department of Labor's budget was cut by $3.2 billion. Medicare, programs like Medicare and Medicaid services so far have been cut, I said cut, by $674 million. Remember, if the black woman can't find work, it hurts the family and the church and the stores and the community. And this is what we are dealing with now. Our people, our women are being hurt, and our women are generally the backbone of the family. And so Musk and Thiel and Stax and Trump and company are hurting the black people, because, like I said, if the black woman is out of work, that hurts the house, it hurts the home, but it's also going to hurt the church, because black people do what? They're the backbone of the church, and they give in them offerings. And if the black woman doesn't have a job, where's she going to put in the offering? Talk about it, somebody. And so this is getting to be a very critical presidency. And then, didn't think I was going to have time to talk about it, but I don't know how many of you saw on the TV or on the YouTube that the Trump administration welcomed 49 or 50 people from South Africa who claimed that Trump gave them refugee status, and they were the Afrikaners who back in the old days ruled South Africa, and they had all of the black people or the colored people in what amounts to refugee status. That was their permanent status in Bantustan, so to speak. In other words, the white Afrikaners owned South Africa, and these white Afrikaners were originally from the Netherlands, from the Dutch, and when they attacked and invaded South Africa violently, I mind you, violently, they set themselves up as the rulers. They have never been the majority, but the blacks have always been the majority, and they rule South Africa with an iron fist. You talk about the apartheid that is practiced in Israel now. It was formulated, and the kinks got out of it over there in South Africa. And when the poor blacks were finally able to throw off the yoke of oppression that the colonizers had put around their necks. And they didn't drive these South Africans out, which I think they should have done. But, all right, thank you, Brother Josh. 5 minutes, y'all. But because the South Africans had stolen land from the black South Africans. And they had raised their generations on those lands. And so they claimed themselves to be the indigenous, not the black South Africans. And so over here, Donald Trump, Elon Musk was in Donald Trump's ear, and he put it in Trump's mind that there was a genocide in South Africa, and that the whites were being murdered and slaughtered by the black South Africans. And so His Highness Donald Trump, who doesn't read, doesn't study, doesn't do research, and won't let nobody tell him the truth, got it in his head that he wanted to give refugee status to Afrikaners from South Africa. Not black Afrikaners, mind you, but only what? White Afrikaners. And please keep in mind, at the same time, he is having his ICE and all of these other agencies invade hospitals, invade churches, and drive all the immigrants, as many as he can, back to Mexico. Most of them are black or brown. They're being put out of the country. But the white South Africans are being welcomed into the country. And you can tell me that ain't racism if you want to, but you better open up your eyes and see what is happening around and about you. And so, as I get ready to wrap this up, this is part of the state of the nation. I also want to add that the Pope, who was just installed, is a black man. His family was from Louisiana, down there with them Creole. They went up there to South Chicago way back in the early 1900s. His sisters were colored. His brothers were colored. His family was able to pass. You see Imitation of Life, you understand what you mean by passing. And therefore, you have a black pope right now. The Pope is black. Because all them Creoles down there in Louisiana, that's all they were, French Negroes. They didn't try to associate with the blacks because it was advantageous to them to be with the white folk. And so that family was passing up there in Chicago. And through good luck, this man was able to go to Peru and serve there. And then he was with this Francis, who passed away. Francis brought him over here. He was over there in the Vatican, rather. And now this man is the Pope. Tell me God doesn't work in mysterious ways. His wonders to perform. Huh? Yes, yes. He puts his foot up on the clouds and he rides up on the star. All right. Stay tuned. Keep praying. God is not asleep, and he's working it out. All right? If you're working on a job and they don't want to pay you, take my decided advice and don't work further. All right, Doc, we out here. Thank you. God love you. God love you.